Fasten your seatbelts and make sure your tray tables are in their full upright position. Next stop, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where President Trump is launching his latest deportation operation called Operation Charlotte's Web. And let me tell you something, the left is fuming. They really believed after the No Kings protests, the government shutdown drama, and a few off-year election wins in deep blue states that they have finally weakened Trump, that they have finally slowed him down. But not only is he not backing down, he's pushing forward full steam ahead, and it has the left losing their mind. As always, the best way you can show your support and that you enjoy the content is by smashing that thumbs up button that tells me you like the video, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this.
In Trump's extreme immigration crackdown, the Department of Homeland Security officially announcing its latest operation in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they are calling it Operation Charlotte's Web. MS Now just received this statement from DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, reading in part, quote, "We are surging DHS law enforcement to Charlotte to ensure Americans are safe and public safety threats are removed." Bovino, I guess, leaving Chicago, now turning his sights to North Carolina.
My reaction is that the administration, it seems to be having a lot of fun with this. They're not slowing down at all. And, they've already deported more than 500,000 people. That's a huge number. And they've promised that those numbers are only going to increase. They're only going to accelerate more. At the same time that we're seeing so many troubling aspects of this crackdown. I mean, not just deportations that the public thinks have gone too far and that they're targeting people who've lived in the United States for years or decades, who have American-born children, but also U.S. citizens being swept up. The governor in North Carolina suggested that the public look out for inappropriate behavior by CBP and film if that happens. But the reality is that could get you pepper sprayed at this point, right? That's what's happening simply to people who are trying to hold the agency accountable. So I think it makes sense that Charlotte, the community there, is really worried that people are hunkering down and full of fear, I think, as they should be, based on what we've seen so far.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Charlotte is a blue city in a red state, which is very consistent with this administration in the way that it is going after blue cities, Democratic cities, Portland, LA, Chicago, and now Charlotte. Even when they deployed the National Guard, it was to DC and Memphis in red states. I mean, obviously Tennessee, red state, but same with North Carolina. It's a red state, but they're going after the blue city.
Charlotte's a beautiful city, but in this case, its leadership has absolutely failed it. We know that there is more than 1,400 criminal illegal aliens who are in their jails, and they refuse to turn over those individuals to ICE law enforcement, which really, that means a revolving door of justice, and these criminal illegal aliens will go back onto Charlotte's streets to re-perpetuate their crimes. We're talking about serial child pedophiles, murderers, rapists, gang members, people who pose real public security threats to the American people. And so, of course, we are surging resources there, and we won't stop until Charlotte is safer.
Yes, you heard that right. They're saying ICE has 1,400 detainers across North Carolina that have not been honored, meaning criminal illegal aliens are being released straight back into North Carolina neighborhoods. Let me say that again. 1,400 criminal detainers ignored, 1,400 criminals released. All because North Carolina refuses to cooperate with federal law enforcement. And listen, here's the reality at this point, because none of this is no longer new or a surprise. If a city decides to ignore what's best for the safety of all its residents because they're trying to protect the few, then there's going to be a cause and effect. And at this point, we know what that looks like. Chicago already showed the entire country what happens when you prioritize illegal immigrants over protecting your own citizens. Federal agents are there to do a job. And if you get in their way, you will find out. And to make matters worse, while the Trump deranged left of Charlotte are out there protesting and marching because federal agents are now in their city, new data has dropped that has exposed something even more alarming on how Charlotte, North Carolina has quickly become a hotbed for human trafficking.
New data now from the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and it shows the problem is growing in areas that have Democrat leadership, particularly Charlotte, North Carolina. The head of nonprofits that combat human trafficking in Charlotte, one of them spoke to Fox Digital.
really is kind of like a perfect storm. There are a lot of variables. I mean, one of the things that we have to know is that trafficking happens everywhere. And so it happens in every city and every town, whether you're rural, whether you're city, it really doesn't matter. But for Charlotte, one of the things is that we have a lot of factors that attract a demand. Things like international airports, all of our interstates, you can get to California, you can get to New York, you can get to Florida. We have major sports teams. All of those things are drawing people who are coming and have disposable income. They're having a good time. We also are the second largest banking industry, second only to New York. And so you've got people coming in for business and then leaving.
And so I want you guys to understand something here. A study that was done between 2015 and 2018 found that the cases where immigration status was known, approximately 52% of likely victims were not U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents. And the U.S. Department of State has also indicated that immigrants, especially immigrant women, make up a large portion of trafficking victims in the U.S., with estimates suggesting 72% of the victims within the U.S. were immigrants. And that's what really bothers me about this situation, is the mentality of the protesters that believe they're so right and they're so righteous, and that ICE, Border Patrol are so wrong and so evil, and they don't even know all of the facts. It's impossible for them to know all the facts because they're not on the ground floor. But as long as they have Trump derangement syndrome and they want to just believe that orange man bad, they're fine with allowing things like this to go down. Let's go to Florida with this story. Let's take a listen.
Fox News alert, ICE announcing a brand new operation to conduct welfare checks on the 450,000 children that the Biden administration placed with unvetted sponsors, some of whom were sex traffickers, gang members, and abusers. The Trump administration has already located more than 24,400 children, and some of these stories are absolutely heartbreaking, like this one. A 1-year-old unaccompanied minor crossed the border during the Obama administration. That little girl is now 12 years old. During her 11 years in America, she lived with a series of relatives and endured horrifying abuse. According to Fox's Brooke Taylor, she was found in the custody of 2 sisters who have now been arrested. The 12-year-old was found, quote, with injuries all over her body, extreme malnutrition, and an infected gash on her head, and zip ties around her wrist. Among those who abused this innocent child were her one-time sponsor, a distant uncle that she was placed with in 2024, despite being an illegal immigrant with a criminal conviction. That sponsor, that alleged abuser, was given temporary protected status by the Biden administration. Why? Here is video that Brooke Taylor obtained of the Trump administration arresting that man just yesterday. This is just one of the nearly 500,000 children that the Trump administration is seeking to protect. And this operation comes after the administration announced that Operation Dirtbag, conducted in partnership with the state of Florida, resulted in the arrest of 230 criminal illegal immigrants, including 150 sexual predators. Here was Deputy ICE Director Madison Sheehan announcing that development.
Have you ever had a moment that changed your life? One accident, one employer who doesn't care, one hospital bill you couldn't pay. That's how quick life can change. And when it does, you realize something fast. The big companies, the insurance giants, they don't care about you. They've got teams of lawyers whose only job is to protect their bottom line. But who's protecting you? There's a reason why it feels like traffic always jams when you're running late. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, Morgan & Morgan has fought for the people, not the powerful. With 1,000 plus attorneys and more than 100 offices nationwide, they've recovered over $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients just like you. Whether you're a 41-year-old family man in Florida, struck by a driver who ran a red light, Morgan & Morgan secured a $9.3 million verdict. Or a father and Little League coach who suffered lasting injuries in a car crash, Morgan & Morgan secured a $6.1 million verdict. When you hire them, it's like hiring a legal army that has your back. Starting a claim is simple. You can get started right now from your phone. No hassle. You can click the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen to see if you have a claim. Their fee is free unless they win. Because when life changes in an instant, you deserve a law firm that's ready to fight for you. And so Florida chose to work with federal law enforcement, and as a result, look at the good they were able to accomplish. Look at how many children they saved from harm's way, from dangerous illegals, who even some of whom were family to these children, and still they got treated this way. But yet you have states like North Carolina that choose to obstruct federal agents from doing their job.
Start this hour in Charlotte, North Carolina, the latest Democrat-run city, to see a surge of federal officers. Underway right now, this is Operation Charlotte's Web. The Trump administration says that the raids right now are in response to local officials refusing to comply with more than 1,000 detainer requests by immigration officials. At least 81 people arrested in the first few hours of the operation. Protesters took to the streets demanding federal officers get out of town.
No hate, no fear, immigrants are welcome here.
Some in the community argue that this operation is causing unnecessary fear and targeting people with no criminal history. Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin saying in a statement that we're surging law enforcement to Charlotte to ensure Americans are safe and public safety threats are removed. President Trump and the Secretary know will step up to protect Americans when sanctuary politicians won't. Joining us now is the Mecklenburg County Sheriff, Gary McFadden. Thank you so much, sir, for your time this morning. Tell me what's going on in Charlotte and where you stand on these ICE agents now in the city.
Well, thank you all for having me. There is a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, but the fear is the main thing that we are experiencing now. Jobs, employment. I went to a restaurant to try to have some breakfast this morning. They're short of staff. Usually that restaurant would have 9 employees there. They only had 2. The hotel industry is affected. The construction sites are affected. Even Home Depot and Lowe's are affected. So it has caused a lot of uncertainty, but it has caused a lot of fear.
And so, yeah, let's stop it right there, because what it sounds like the sheriff is admitting to is that these businesses are knowingly hiring illegal migrants, and now their businesses are suffering as a result of the crackdown. I mean, let's use some common sense here. The reason why they're in fear is because they realize that if they are captured knowing they are here illegally, then they will be deported.
What about the statement that local officials were not cooperating in carrying out these detainers? Did your department have any influence in that or any say?
Well, this is the words that they use and what we call the word salad. A detainer is not a legal document. And the word legal needs to be also understood that it is an official document of ICE and Department of Homeland Security, but it's not a legal document. So what we simply was asking them is this: we will honor anything that a judicial official would sign, and we will honor that.
Yeah, no. The sheriff is the one who's playing word salad games, and he's wrong. A detainer request is a legal document, but is exactly what the name says, a request. And local and state law enforcement agencies can choose to either honor it or ignore it. And what these detainer requests ask is that law enforcement hold that person so that way ICE has enough time to show up and take that person into federal custody. And so basically that person goes from being released out of local or state law enforcement, and then ICE is on the scene and they immediately arrest them, and federal agents now have them in their custody. And if you're asking yourself, why does ICE make this arrest? It's because the individual was already arrested, already sitting in a jail for committing a crime. And when their fingerprints were run, ICE flagged them as someone who was in the country illegally and were eligible for removal. And so these detainer requests aren't random people they're hunting. They're saying this person was arrested for a crime. They're here illegally, which is also a crime. And we want to remove them from the country. And so now, with all that being said, you have one of the NAACP leaders down in Charlotte who has a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome, calls the president Hitler because she is fuming at the fact that Border Patrol is down in the city of Charlotte with Operation Charlotte's Web. Take a listen.
I just want to start with reminding everyone within the sound of our voices that it was immigrants who built this country. Africans who were enslaved, who had no opportunity for freedom, or even freedom of thought were in fact immigrants. Now, we're talking about immigration as if it's something over there or over there. But the harm to every immigrant is harm to every one of us. In this country, we want to believe that the Constitution has protected us all, and in fact it has not. But that doesn't mean that we can't work to ensure that it does. In the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, there are people standing behind me who have committed to ensure we are going to protect the people of this residence. We hope that includes all of you. From 2016 to 2020, I would go to hearings to stop deportations. And in those hearings, there'd be no one there but myself and maybe two other people. So this is not a new concept. This is a more egregious concept. We have a little man sitting in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue who really believes that Hitler was the greatest man ever on earth.
These people just say whatever they want. They don't think, they don't verify, they don't even try to choose their words carefully. They just blurt out whatever comes to mind. Trump loved Hitler. He thought Hitler was the greatest man alive. I mean, really? Has Trump ever said that anywhere at any time? Of course not. Let's be honest. Because if he had, it would be playing on a 24/7 hour loop on MSNBC, CNN. Every liberal media outlet would be running that clip whenever they needed to make him look bad. You never hear the end of it. But to the Trump deranged, facts don't matter. Accuracy doesn't matter. Of course, the truth doesn't matter. They'll say whatever they want and act like it's reality. No evidence required.
Whose whole vision is to be just like Hitler, and is trying to create a 1940s Germany right here in the United States. And like then, many people said, well, it's them, it's not me. Until eventually it was them. We can no longer be silent. Our responsibility is to understand our responsibility as a human being. Yes. To care, to be considerate, to be passionate, to be loving towards one another. We're talking about human beings. So when we say immigration or immigrants, we're talking about human beings, men, women, and children, yes, who are walking in this city, who are working in this city, who are being educated in this city in fear. No person should have to live under the dark cloud of fear, especially when all you want is to live the American dream, which has now become a nightmare.
So according to this woman, just because someone says, I want to go to America, they should automatically be allowed in. No vetting, no process, no documentation, nothing. Simply wanting a piece of the American dream is enough to her mind. And it's just a good thing that people who have that kind of mindset are no longer running the country, because we see where that mindset tends to kind of put us. I mean, let's get one thing straight. No one is entitled to the American dream just because they came to this country, especially when they decide that they're going to break the laws required to enter the country the correct way. We have borders for a reason. We have an immigration process for a reason. I mean, listen, you can want all kinds of things in life, but that doesn't mean you're entitled to them. Wanting something doesn't override national security, and it definitely doesn't override the rights of the people who are already here. But those are my thoughts. Drop your comments down below. I appreciate when you guys chime in. As always, best way you can show your support is by smashing that thumbs up. That tells me you like the video, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. And as always, until next time.